What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 10 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Archaon the Everchosen campaign. So as we saw last time, some pretty great battles as Gulator Halfspawn faced off against Malice Darkblade and destroyed his army, though it did take a little bit of a while and to bring Malice himself down. Archaon in the meantime got to destroy Helman Gorst and the undead armies at the Haunted Forest, acquiring the much wanted Gorst or Ghost trait for that casualty replenishment. Really needed that. If only we could get to the Fey Enchantress from here just to get a little bit more, but hey, 15% ain't too bad, and it certainly makes me think that we can go Chaos Commander now, rather than relying on Chaos Strategist, even if Chaos Strategist does give you additional unit XP. I mean, I suppose we could, do the sort of cheap thing and then reset the skill points after using Chaos Strategist for a while, but I don't feel like doing that, so maybe we're not gonna. Anyway, this time around, everybody's heading in different directions. Kolek's peeled away and will now act on his own. Archaon's gonna head towards Bronze Claw here and kill this army just because he can, just for fun, while our Cornate forces continue making their way up northward towards Village and Zatan to some degree as well, and Gulator prepares to invade the northern Chaos Wastes and take all those fortresses that Hag Grief is holding. So, lots of stuff to do. Before we get started, once again, we did manage to reach the, not allegiance, but engagement threshold. I don't know why I keep confusing those two words together, so this will be an hour-long episode yet again, and the offer does still stand. 400 likes and 50 comments, and the next episode will follow suit. Anyway, Archaon, you're going to move towards this guy. Hopefully he doesn't take advantage of your march stance, though frankly, even if he did, I doubt that he'd be able to do much about it. Now, Kolek, the question is what to do with you. Jao Ming is right there, and this wouldn't be the worst time to declare war on him. However, the problem with that is Kolek might not be able to police all of these territories himself. On the other hand, somebody does have to start fighting down here as well. Even though there aren't any dark fortresses to take, the thing is, these guys are at war with us and they will threaten both Kugath, who is now our vassal, and the newly conquered Mountains of Morn. And we didn't want Village to be the one doing this, so yeah, alright, fine, Kolek, I guess you're gonna do this. And in fact, what you're going to do is attack Jao Ming. Let's get you another Dragon Ogre unit for that. That should be sufficient for this army now. And you know what, let's get a Chaos Troll, we'll trade it to another army, but you know what, might as well start leveling them here. Couple of Marauders wouldn't go amiss, and maybe a couple Doggos just to chase things down. I'm tempted by the Hounds of Decay, but frankly they're quite expensive, and we're already spending enough. There we go, we're negative once again. It almost felt wrong to have a positive income. We also gotta get Kolek some heroes, and Archaon, let's see. I think Kolek's going to need 2 Exalted Heroes of Nurgle and then probably a Sorcerer of Metal for Glittering Robe for the Dragon Ogres, and a few other nice things like Searing Doom and all that, but I think Glittering Robe would work quite nicely here. So the Exalted Heroes are going to need the additional levels provided by Archaon, so they can immediately Nurgle up, and thus we're going to need a couple of levels for him to get Distinguished Champion. Let's get the level 1 right now, but then the other one will have to wait. Collect his time to fight these guys. Clan Eshin, what are you willing to give us for us to declare war in the Western Provinces? 6. Not much. Not much. Alright, so we can't use that to make you our vassal, but, well, we can probably beat you into submission anyway. And then we'll see about the Blessed Dread as well. Once again, though, if we actually want to attack them, it depends. The thing is, they are allied with Village, and yeah, we're going to have to fight him, so... Anyway, join war for now. It's free money after all, and then let's get to it. And you know what, since this is all useless territory to us, I'm inclined to say we start giving that territory to Kugath. We're going to have to move through Scrap Towers in Shambletown and Knobbly Gorge to do that. I guess we can do that next turn. Kolek, this seems like a pretty darn fun battle to fight Jao Ming here, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, what do we have here? Pyrrhic Victory, he's got plenty of units. They are inferior to ours, unlike the much more problematic battle that we had with Kuchar before. And they do have Jao Ming leading them as well, so it should be a pretty fun time. Dragon Ogres, away you go again. Alrighty, here we go. Dragon versus Dragon Ogres. Should be a pretty interesting time as we head Kolek directly into battle and hopefully into a nice duel. And with Jao Ming, he's going to start taking hits from the enemy crossbows and peasant bows, but I think he should be relatively okay. What's his defenses? 28 physical, 28 ward, 5 physical, and 50% missile. Yeah, he should be fine, at least with regards to enemies hitting him. And there you go, he's made it in, starts whacking away at Jao Ming, though it looks like the latter will probably transform pretty much immediately. The rest of our army is moving in two separate blobs. One side of the map will have all of our Dragon Ogres charging in, and then the center will have our Marauders and our Trolls and whatnot, hopefully to distract this side of the enemy while the Dragon Ogres dish out the damage. Dragon Ogres will activate their Storm Rage ability to get that charge bonus just as they charge in and smash into the enemy lines, and hopefully don't get into each other's way all that much, though. No guarantee depending on how the enemy blobs up with regards to this. Now, I love fighting in the Cathayan territories. They're always quite nice, and there was a lot of work put into these Cathayan maps. So we're gonna enjoy fighting in Cathay while we're fighting here before the whole thing is razed in the name of the Dark Gods. And Kolek unfortunately had to switch to the Gate Master as the target, who he's basically killed at this point, as Jao Ming transformed into a dragon and then promptly flew away rather than face off against Kolek. Kolek kills the Gate Master and will return to fighting Jao Ming while we drop some piercing bolts of burning on some units. Alright, but it looks like the enemy will counter us with their own Burnination as Jao Ming uses his Flame Breath ability. Dragon's Breath ability, whatever, close enough. Same thing, same thing. And it looks like he's going to engage the Summoners of Rage, who are looking very, very blue today, and another unit of regular Dragon Ogres. They're all anti-large, of course, so hopefully surrounding him will prevent him from getting away while we dish out massive damage. Back here, however, we've managed to... looks like another exchange of spells. This time, the Dragon's Breath will hit both of our Chaos Warhounds, taking about half HP from both of them, so not a bad use of it. While we did also manage to get off a Chain Lightning with the Summoners of Rage, who are up to 22k damage and probably a lot more, and then the other Dragon Ogres. Our Marauders, such as they are, in the sense that they are very limited in number, are fighting against those enemies, mostly to poison them and slow them down, while the Trolls, armored and unarmored alike, and the non-Nurglite Marauders try to do a little bit of damage. Alright, chase down what you can, but these guys are obviously not having as good of a day as the Dragon Ogres are. Looks like our first unit of regular unarmored Chaos Trolls will rout. Another Dragon's Breath coming down, and man, Jao Ming really hates those Chaos Warhounds as they take another hit from those spells. On the bright side, though, Kolek has found Jao Ming again. Hopefully he won't run away this time, and the two will try to attack each other, although it looks like their hitboxes are a little bit weird. And, some nice hits into one of those Dragon Ogres from that sword summoning ability that Jao Ming has. Alright, Kolek, whack away at him. Very nice stagger. I'm sure he's gonna need a few more hits there, but Jao Ming is down to half HP, so we are getting there. Back here, Jade Lancers are fighting against some of the Dragon Ogres on the flanks, and perhaps I should have kept a couple of Dragon Ogres on the other side of the map, as in the other flank as well, and just so that they could take care of the cavalry on that side. If I were to play this battle again, I would do that rather than charging our entire blob of Dragon Ogres in this direction, and especially because these two units are more than enough to take care of, I believe, 4 units of cavalry without taking much in the way of damage. Looks like Jao Ming has actually recovered quite a bit of his HP. He was closer to half and is now at 3/4. We did have to peel away our Dragon Ogres other than Kolek for a little bit, and I guess that gave him some opportunity to recover. We also have no ranged whatsoever in this particular army, so those Sky Lanterns are just sitting there and dishing out damage. And good for them. And good for them for being actual menaces. And back here, the basic troops, the non-Dragon Ogre troops, are looking to be the worst for wear. 1, 2, looks like all 3 of our units of trolls, well 4 now, are routing. They will rally, of course, but that's still fairly dangerous. At least the one of the Chaos Trolls is still fighting, though who knows for how long. Alright, I mean, that's a lot of Jade Warriors there, and they are not to be underestimated. On the right side, however, looks like the Dragon will go down. It did take a while for Kolek and the Dragon Ogres to work their way through those scales of his, but at the end they did, and now the battle will turn further in our favor. Another activation of Storm Rage as soon as it's up, both for these guys and for the Dragon Ogres fighting out there, and Kolek will lead the rest of the Dragon Ogres back into the main fray. Especially now that we don't have to deal with the tankiness of Jao Ming. Alrighty, Kolek, forward you go, buddy. And that big old maul of yours has more work to do, I'm sure. Honestly, I feel like Kolek should be able to just whack down the Sky Lanterns. I mean, he could totally reach those, right? Without even rearing up on his hind legs. I'm pretty sure if he takes the bottom part of the maul, he could just whack those out of the sky like a big old piñata. I would pay money for DLC that just lets Kolek do that. As it would entertain me. But anyway. It'd be awesome if you had animations to knock flying units out of the sky in general, not even just Sky Lanterns. But anyway, looks like there is another hero/lord out here, a Lord Magistrate, so Jao Ming will have somebody follow in his footsteps, as I'm sure Kolek will get rid of him quickly, but the rest of the Dragon Ogres have a regular fight to take care of, joining those trolls and the remnants of our marauders to work on those Jade Warriors, and those that are still fighting, of course. Now, it looks like the leftmost flank of our army basically failed as the marauders and the trolls ended up running, but they did all rally, and while they distracted the enemy, which was their job all along, the Dragon Ogres were able to destroy the right side of the enemy army. So, I think at the end of the day, the strategy did work out, even if it did hurt. Apparently a Pyrrhic victory, but I don't think that the Dragon Ogres actually got all that hurt, and even if they did lose HP, they lost very, very few of their models. Alright, there we go. We got plenty of money for our trouble to get back at least some of the cash that we used to recruit the extra units here. And speaking of the extra recruited units, they were the ones that got the most hurt. Interesting to see that the Chaos Trolls out-damaged and out-killed the Dragon Ogres generally speaking, with the exception of the Summoners of Rage, because of that chain lightning bound ability that they have, and with the exception of Kolek as well. But yeah, don't underestimate those armored Chaos Trolls, though I suppose since they weren't fighting together with the Dragon Ogres, they didn't have the issue of blocking each other, and thus could hit a lot more. Anyway, I guess Do we sack this? I mean, we're just gonna give it to Kugath anyway. Do we care about maintaining it? Just sack it. Why not? Why not? And there we go, armor plus 10 for Lord's Army. We did need that for the Dragon Ogres, as they are relatively light armored at 60, well 70 now, and the magic item drop chance being faction wide is quite nice. If we can get a second Lord to follow Kolic around in a little bit, I'd love to give them that trait. Stacking it is quite useful, so anyway, let's take Chiang for ourselves. Don't bother collecting the income and don't bother repairing it, as we'll just transfer it to one of our allies. I'd actually like to get that defeat rate on Kuchar as well, so maybe if he loops back down, depending on how Cathay goes, that's what we'll do with him. Anyway, I do believe that that is it for this turn, so we're gonna skip commandment, not skip, and go for exploit vassals here, but skip everything else. Oh, wait. We should give the Serpent wait, Varg Camp? We should give the Varg Camp up, but I guess for now, while Azazel is here, just stay there, buddy. Alright, outpost available end turn. Alright, really gotta get that extra level on Archaon so we can get a couple more Exalted Heroes and actually spend a little bit of our accrued souls. Peace treaty for Malice, not unless you want to be a vassal right now, and I don't think you do. Plus you're holding, what, at least 2 Dark Fortresses, and I don't think we're gonna let that fly. In my Valkia campaign, Valkia managed to vassalize pretty much all the Dark Elves, which was pretty hilarious. Diplomatic relations with the Sarl, interesting. In Ancient Agony, let's give this a quick read. Keeper of Secrets brings you a shimmering crystal, which they claim houses the frozen soul of an old one, captured at the anguished moment of death, forever voicing their final scream. Well, you know, that's great, but death may not hold an old one back if it didn't hold Slan back. But anyway, while it is almost certainly a mere Slan soul, similar, such a gift is nevertheless irresistible to any ruinous servant. Those are my favorite servants. Anyway, yeah, you're gonna have to sail out there, Azazel, buddy. Though I guess we're going to have to give you some more troops. Well, let's get you those Marauder horses, and oh wow, we can get a lot of regular Marauders. I don't know how many of them we actually need here. We'll probably actually want more Marauder horses, because we'll want some chariots. Let's do this, like so. That puts you up to 15. Let's get you 2 more. I wish they weren't so expensive to recruit in place. We're probably doubtless going to have to delete some of them, but anyway. And at the same time, we're going to give you the Sibilant Slaughtercade, just so that you have sort of an elite unit to run around or trundle around, I guess. And we will sail out. I still don't understand why Varg Camp is broken. Almost tempted to go to this side so that we can grab that Seacourse instead. Let's go to this side. There you go, Azazel. Stuff for you to do. And then at the same time, Varg Camp can go to Wulfric for another 6.5k. Oh, Wulfric. I don't know how you keep getting so rich, but as long as you keep feeding us this kind of cash, we're gonna keep feeding you territory. And very nice. Alrighty, while we're here, Gulator, I see an island right there. And, okay, I guess the question is where we start attacking Darkblade. I mean, actually, if we don't end up subjugating him, it won't really matter all that much. I don't remember whether Blackrock is a Dark Fortress, but I would assume that it is. You know what, there is an island right here, so I'm tempted to say we start at the Palace of Princes and the Twisted Towers. Damn, how many territories does he have? He's got 8. Alright, so a fair few for Gulator to deal with. Alright, fair enough. Alright, grab this little island and... oh. You're actually quite hurt still. Tempted to say you hold on for another couple of turns. Or maybe at least 1 turn. Wait, do we heal in the water? We do, but not nearly as much. Alright, fine. You give it a turn to heal. Gifts of Chaos. We now have our first Nurgle gift unlocked. We could borrow some Nurgle units. Can't get the Beasts of Nurgle or anything along that line, though. Or can we? Wait. This is Nurglings, and this is Plague Bearers, this is Beast of Nurgle and Nurglings. I mean, this is all great, but it wasn't what I was originally going to put in Gulator's army. I think for now we're going to go for Deadly Transmission, and growth per region plus 50 after winning a battle is also really quite good. But for now, I think we really need the Enables Replenishment in foreign territory. Too bad it doesn't actually increase replenishment itself, but nonetheless, we are in foreign territory quite a lot. Alright, that's good. Next, we'll have to pick our new research, and okay, so you need 3 techs from here in order to get Virulent Blessings, which we will also want to get, but for now I think we want to head towards that Searing Branding Iron. We will go through Erection of Ruinous Monuments. Those, incidentally, are my favorite monuments, to go for that. Or do we just go for the Slaneshi thing? Now, you know what, let's get Slaneshi first, because Azazel's right there, and he has just an absolutely ridiculous number of Marauders. Plus, I did want that Slaneshi gift that increases our movement range. It seems quite useful as well. Alright, Gulator, stay where you are, my friend. Kolek, you're up next, and I guess you're just going to head to the next settlement. You're going to have to loop back down, so we're going to have to quickly take Hanyu Port and then Shenwu, and then go back down here before they retake Chiang. But anyway. Is this enemy territory? This is our territory. I guess you can heal here if you can't go further. Alright. Take a little bit of effort to cross that bridge. What do we have in terms of defenses here? Not much. Probably we'll be able to auto-resolve that. Next up, you have not been replaced by Nakai, unfortunately. Though I fear if we attack you, you might run too far. And if you run too far, you know what, Archaon, stand right here. The problem is if this guy runs too far, he will get, I mean, yeah, let's not risk it, let's not risk it. Just a raid here for a turn, it's fine. And that'll prevent him from going after like Karakrakatan or Grimtop or anything along those lines. Kugath, you can have Scrap Towers. Scrap Towers for you, sir. And there we go, and start building all these places up. And I guess Plagueinating, and this will probably force you into a war with Greasus later on, and that's just fine, unless we, you know, destroy him soon. Anyway, let's see what else we have. Hivel the Painbringer, you're headed down to Kuchar, and Miao Ying is running around there, so Kuchar is looking to get a nice fight there. Now you can probably... Probably gonna have to fight that. With Miao Ying around and us needing to attack Nangao, we need to maintain enough HP to be able to do so. And Shrine of the Alchemist. Yeah, it's a Pyrrhic victory with medium casualties. That sounds like a fight to me, so a fight it shall be. Alrighty, well, it looks like Mr. Kuchar is capable of giving speeches as well, which is nice to see, but anyway, the battle has begun, and as always, the battle begins with bombardment from that skull cannon of ours. It's been such a useful little artillery piece in this particular army, and I imagine that will not change here. Now, the main target is going to be the main target is going to be right here, the crane gunners. We are not yet in range of them, so we'll have to wait until the enemy closes the distance a little bit, but they are going to be the biggest threat the enemy has on the field, especially if we leave them unharassed. And they do have the potential of knocking our skull cannons down, so they'll be the target once the enemy starts marching forward. And the anthill has gotten kicked, so it looks like the enemy will begin their march. But not to worry, we've got plenty of ways to bombard them, or plenty of angles, I suppose, as we can retreat with that 70 speed on the skull cannon and get back into position and simply continue firing. It's kind of odd that Khorne has one of the best range units in the Chaos roster, doesn't it? especially in SFO. These skull cannons aren't quite as useful in vanilla as they are in SFO, but with the number increases they get, they're pretty darn useful. And pretty darn scary at that. Reposition, fire as you please, and when you're out of ammo, just go into melee and spin and to win. Anyway, with the anthill kicked, we are finally in range of those crane gunners who are going to be the main targets here. The enemy hills, well, you know what? I suppose in this particular case, the hills are kind of our enemies, as the enemy is sort of acting like a hull-down tank as they approach a little bit with the with plenty of their units covered by the crest of the hill, which is a bit annoying, but they have to close the distance sooner or later, and thus the bombardment will continue until morale improves. Anyway, let's just take a quick look at the setup here before we get into the battle proper. Also, you gotta love those Cathan maps. But anyway, most of our marauders are deployed here on the right side, where in this valley between the cliffside and this impassable little, I guess also cliffside slash plateau, will essentially force the enemy to make a battle line here and meet our own battle line in, well, battle. On the other side, however, on the rightmost flank, we are looping a couple of units of marauders around, and 3 of our flesh hounds getting ready to go. Once the enemy is distracted here by our marauders, the flesh hounds will loop around the enemy and start on those Jade Warrior crossbows and any other range units they can reach. Kuchar is already heading into the fray, probably to try to hunt down the enemy lord, but if he gets a few extra swings of his axes at some peasants, I don't think he'd mind all that much. He's in a dark portion of the map right now, but because he's all glowy and burning, it doesn't matter, and he's essentially his own spotlight. Some life advice for you folks. Be your own spotlight. Oh, that's the Kuchar way. But anyway, here we go. The Marauders and the single unit of Chaos Warriors of Khorne, still the only one we have made it onto the field. But soon we will have that branding iron and be able to start upgrading into more and more Chaos Warriors of Khorne, especially dual axe variety rather than halberd. Funnily enough, if we wanted to, we could switch that unit to dual axes, but they've been halberds for so long, I kind of feel bad about switching them at this point. Anyway, the battles are completely engaged now, the battle lines. Our skull cannon just mowed through the enemy front lines, through into their back lines, and distracted those crane gunners, preventing them from firing and destroying probably said skull cannons. And said skull cannons are now back into the fray with another unit to be annoyed. Once again, a very nice unit. And back here, we are distracting the enemy unit of Jade Warriors with halberds, who I'm sure will be able to hold quite a long time against basic marauders, especially with that 100 armor they have, and the relative lack of armor piercing down to only 11 damage on the marauders. But while the Jade Warriors hold, the Flesh Hounds are ripping the Jade Warrior crossbows apart, and they are left unsupported by their melee guardians, which is obviously a problem, especially considering about half of the enemy army has shattered at this point, then another 25% perhaps are routing. And now we just gotta make sure to shatter and destroy what remains, but the battle is most definitely going in our favor. Finally, it's time also to start to attack those darn Sky Lanterns. Just out of curiosity. 16 kills and 8k damage. I mean, they did something, which is, well, unexpected to some degree, but they did do something. So good for them. Might actually be more damage than plenty of the other enemy units dealt, because they all got obliterated before they could do much. Anyway, looks like that Sky Lantern unit is out of here. Kuchar is going to try to chase down the Lord Magistrates, while the Skull Cannons and our Marauder Horses switch to the rest of the Sky Lanterns. And bring them down on top of the enemy Magistrate's head, if you can. And we'll just assume that Kuchar will survive as well. Alright, and this is where the battle will be decided now that the enemy lord has finally sought fit to do battle and not run away from Kuchar. And of course those sky lanterns that still need to be brought down, whereas the rest of the enemy army is pretty much done for already. I hear horns, perhaps those are the horns of retreat as the enemy look to be having a pretty bad day, and yes, the magistrate is out. These sky cannons, they wish. Sky lanterns try to book it on out of there. The enemy army will shatter, and this battle will be dedicated to Khorne once again. Or yet again, or another battle, you know what I mean. It's like Khorne-like. Alright, very nice, very nice. Certainly not as much money as Kolek got for his trouble, but nice enough. And nonetheless, 12k damage on Kuchar's good boys here, and 114 kills and 13k on Karanak's puppies, and the other two got around 7k. Some of the, well, the Marauders did all roughly the same, although the Khornate Marauders largely outdid the regular Marauders, and looks like at 117 the Cornflakes did the best of those guys. Anyway, we are going to... No, they'll just hate us. Once again, I tried it with Villichan. The Dissenter Lords of Jinshen were at war with Clan Eshin, and frankly, I still think all of our factions would still hate us for keeping them, so just sack it and occupy it. And we'll trade it to somebody else and appreciate that armor of fortune, though. Alright, let's occupy the Shrine of the Alchemist rather than subjugate. There we go. The Center Lords of Jinshen destroyed. Yeah, minus 1200 on us from the northern provinces. We'll never get any of the Cathan factions to like us enough to bother. Anyway, Archaon is good, Gulator is good. We just have some money to spend and some buildings potentially to build, and it's mostly the favor buildings if we can afford a few. You are still at 4.8k. You're also going to be at the same sort of line. Seeing any ones that will upgrade to level 2 at the current time? And no, it doesn't look like it, unless there was a Dark Fortress with level 1 now, so we can upgrade a couple to level 3 then. Expensive though it may be. 1 and 2. I'm not gonna... 5.4. Wait, the other one was cheaper. What are you at? 4.8. Yeah, we're not gonna do the 5.4 one. Crazy. That was the one with the marble territory too, huh? I wonder why you're more expensive. Probably stuff nearby or possibly climate or something? I don't know. I'm too lazy to look into it right now. So we're just going to skip, get the commandment up and running. Once again, exploit vassals. And then we will be trading all this stuff to, I'm still not sure who. Hopefully Clan Eshin, but who knows? Who knows? Outpost available, skip, ban, and turn. Alrighty, we still have a, ooh, hello, Miao Ying to hunt down. Man, she's gonna be a toughie. It was tough to bring down Jao Ming in his dragon form, and that was with Kolek's army. We may actually need help against Miao Ying. Trudge Craven Tail wants an non-aggression pact, maybe. I don't know, depends on how much of the Darklands you currently occupy, and frankly, we'll probably still attempt to subjugate you. Gonna have to figure out how we deal with the Skaven from a diplomatic quote-unquote perspective, as we will need to deal with them in some way. You, sir. Kolek, grab Hanyu Port first, because it's more important and because you can reach it, and then you can head down or up to the next place afterwards. Auto-resolve this. This will hurt the doggos, I'm sure, but it's still mostly garbage. We will sack it, and stop moving. Alright, good, and reoccupied. Hey, casualty replenishment rate from that Kurgan chieftain. Appreciate that. Occupy. Nice, nice. And we have a port here, so you'll be healing up in a little bit more. You've also got a couple levels, and we are trying to get to the Sun Eater for you. And thus we should probably continue upgrading our various Dragon Ogres, backbone of the army, as they are. Sun Eater will be next, enemy leadership -8, and Storm Rage a vortex ability with a melee attack reduction contact effect, and hopefully decent damage. We'll try it out. As soon as we can, anyway. Archaon, what do we have here? And... okay, it's still not Nakai, so I guess it can't be Nakai, but it can be something we can kill, so... Nakai, looks like we're at war. I assume this is not your only army, and I didn't... Because what if Nakai was dead and we had to wait 5 turns? I don't remember how many turns since this guy's appeared, which is a problem. Goldtooth. It's 4 turns remaining. But I don't think he appeared on the same turn that you were left with 1 territory. It was probably down here. Listen to that. It really doesn't tell me anything, does it? Alright, just attack it, Archaon. Just attack it. And he is indeed going to run. Huh, I was wondering whether he'd go to Garisi, but alas. I do think this might be a pretty fun fight, as it is a very different sort of setup with all of those Kroxigors and those Feral Carnos, and then the battles we fought recently, so away we go again. Alrighty, here we go, ready once more to face off against an enemy, and an enemy that we have not yet fought in this campaign. So some nice variety in the sense that we get to fight these lizards, and definitely a big reason that I wanted to fight them in the first place. Anyway, the enemy has deployed its army in a rather curious fashion, with pretty much all of their infantry on this side, protected by at least a few of those Kroxigors, while all of the enemy Carnosaurs and most of the enemy Kroxigors and Lord are over on that side. Now this allowed us to set up on the side that had less units and start annoying the enemy with our Hell Cannon and with our Marauder Horsemen. Because of the Kroxis and the Saurus Warriors having Rampage, the Javelins of the Marauder Horsemasters allowed us to force 3 of their units into Rampage, and before the battle was even joined. And that quite helped us, because they moved towards us where Archaon and Ograx could start ripping them apart, and hey, even Harry the Hammer can join in on the fun. So that's quite nice. And this also gives us a little bit of time to dish out damage before the rest of the main army arrives, so it looks like that time is finally over. Carnosaur gonna try to chase down our hero, the Chronicler, and we are going to protect him with the Knights of Tzeentch and the Lords of Chaos as well. Lords of Chaos? The Knights of Tzeentch and the Swords of Chaos. Although in some ways, perhaps they can be said to be Lords of Chaos, but yeah, surround that Carnosaur, destroy it. It's got a leadership reduction due to the fear of Aramar, and it looks like it's gonna go down. Now, spells and Hell Cannon shots are flying as the Chronicler tries to take revenge on the enemy Carnosaurs by hitting them with the blue fires, while our Hell Cannon continues to bombard any enemy infantry that's too far away to actually cause us to damage ourselves. Kroxigor's still in the fight, but the giants are seeing them off. You can see all those corpses of Kroxigors beneath Hugin and Immune in here. And it looks like these Kroxigors at least will break, and I'm sure they won't be the first. Archaon's also in the middle of the fray somewhere, but frankly at this point it's a little bit hard to tell, though by the looks of it he has managed to kill off the enemy Lord, or perhaps it was Ograx. The two are fighting together this time, but by the looks of it, not for long. Damn, that turned out to be a pretty darn quick battle, and much quicker than I was expecting, but I guess with the enemy army damaged prior to the battle, and the way that they deployed inefficiently, let's say, they just lost and routed far too quick. Well, works for us. Alright, very, very nice, and plenty of free money for that, and thus more favor buildings that we can build. And gotta appreciate that. And obviously we're gonna take said money. The Hell Cannon did quite well, just sniping all those relatively small numbers of infantry, and it looks like the most damage was on one of our chaos warriors there. Plenty of damage on the various marauder horse masters. I said when I started the campaign that I really like the unit and use them quite a lot during my my Throggy campaign, so I'm happy with their performance, and eventually they will be promoted to knights. Anyway, sacrifice those captives. Yeah, if one thing you can't complain about in this particular campaign is the sheer variety of units we've been able to face. And damn, that was Nakai's one and only army. I was hoping that that wasn't the only, but I guess he's destroyed. Maybe he'll be back as long as his defenders are still around, but yeah. Oh well, not a big deal. Now, Archaon. How are we gonna do this? We have to loop back around to Pig Barter, which means we have to go all the way down to Bitter Bay, so I guess you're going this way. Would it be faster to set sail than to do this? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, and then like this. Yeah, seems like it'll be roughly the same. So go this way, and if you encounter Imric on the way, well, then you can just attack Imric. These guys will be annoyed at our trespassing, I'm sure, but what can you do? What can you do? Alright, Azazel, I believe you had a free island to grab real quick. And you should probably do it in non-march stance. See if we get anything useful out of this. Loot the carcass, obviously auto-resolve this garbage, and you don't even take that much damage, but you will take a few souls. And let's see if you get any kind of nice reward. At least 8k? Yeah, 8k. Alright, well that gives us more money to make more money. Now, Azazel, you are in friendly waters, so you will continue on this way. You will have to watch out for any revival of full stacks, but between you and Gulator you should be able to pretty easily destroy Malice's faction. Now, you take the fell cargo, then start on your way to the Palace of Princes, please. Sail to the wreck, and decisive victory. Okay, this one's gonna hurt. It's probably gonna bring our blister boys down to like 2. 4. Okay, but still. Still more damage than I'd like. Alrighty, and let's see what money we get out of this, or what money. Sword of Change. Summons a unit of Chaos Spawn. Hello. Horde Dread, you're gonna get that. And hey, we got Lost Cargo. The growth in the income from, well, the income from buildings won't do too much for us right now. Materials at sea would have been fantastic. In fact, we should probably build a force of Chaos Pirates and send them out there just to look for islands, because a single materials at sea can be game-changing. Absolutely game-changing, and just kickstart your faction's snowballing capabilities. And just get more armies on the field, generally speaking. Anyway, Gulator, you're gonna have to land at the Fetid Catacombs here, and you're gonna take that. And I will give that Chaos Spawn thing. You know what? I think I'm actually going to give it... What weapon is Kuhar currently using? I mean, I guess we could put this guy in his army anyway, but... ooh, wait. We're already at war with Miao Ying, aren't we? Alright, Kuhar. Alright, let me just figure this out. You, go right here. They might attack us. I would like you to go into ambush, but also into ambush in a place where you can be reached by Kuhar. Looks like, or you can be reached by this guy. You can reach him right here. Honestly, if they bypass you and go directly for the Shrine of the Alchemist, I wouldn't care. So go right here, join the army. And it'll be a few levels yet until we can corn you up, but, you know, getting there as well. Kuhar, let's get you a level, sir. And I guess Savage Bloodlust is the easy pick here. More doggo power. Can't go wrong with more doggo power. And you can, for now, have that Sword of Change. Still haven't figured out who I want to give the Ether's Sword to, but I'll figure that one out later. Sword of Change. Right here. And wait, did that go directly to Gulator? Give me a second. Yeah, Gulator, you didn't have a sword. You have magical attacks already, so the Sword of Anti-Heroes would be wasted on you. I think you do deserve a Armor of Fortune, though. You've been pretty legendary so far, and I think you've earned it. This is for casters, which I guess technically you are, but, you know. Where's that sword? Ether Sword. So this gives us the Sundered Armor imbuement, which would mean we lose the poison imbuement when we do it. But it is only for 30 seconds. Maybe not a horrible thing to have on you. Alright, fine. Keep the Ether Sword for now. I might swap that out later, but for now we're good. I'm probably gonna have to give you some armor as well, sir, though you haven't had too much trouble fighting the enemies. Helm of Many Eyes, I guess, for emergencies. Or is the Armor of Damnation better? Maybe the Armor of Damnation for lords and keep the Helm of Many Eyes for heroes. We'll give you a Potion of Strength. We'll keep the Dawnstone for somebody with more power, and we'll remove the Scroll of Power and the Scepter of Stability in favor of another Scroll of Aramar. Stop giving us those. I might just fuse them all at some point. We'll keep the little version of the shields because we're about to get a lot more heroes, and we may need to give those to them. Now, speaking of new heroes, Archaon, did you level up enough to get more? No, you did not. Okay, well then we're going to have to wait to keep recruiting. But for now, let's build buildings and let's head into the next turn. Alright, you're good. You're building your favor. You are ready to upgrade your favor at 5.4k, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You're at level 3. You are upgrading level 3 currently. And wait, just a second. What do you do at the second level? More control and more income from adjacent areas, but probably isn't all that much right now anyway. Not worth it to upgrade the Bone Pit because we can just do that via gifts, as in grow via gifts, so we won't bother with that. And I do believe we're good. Alrighty, at least for now. And yes, we have a lot of cash. Well, not really a lot, but especially not for Chaos, but and we'll keep it. Knobbly Gorge and Shambletown, will you pay us for those? Shambletown 4.8? Yes, you will. Go take that. And will you take Knobbly Gorge as well for the same amount of cash? You will indeed. Not quite enough. We could probably get more next turn, but nah. I'm not gonna bother nickel and diming you. Alright, and that nearly completes your province, and if we desire to do so, we can give you Chiang and then stuff out here as well. Kugeth should actually be generating fairly decent amounts of cash, because, yeah, 300 at minimum for tier 3 basic settlements. So he could be worth a decent amount in terms of vassal tribute over time. Although he doesn't have any dark fortresses that we'd be able to buff up his stuff. Anyway, unassigned skill points, damage buildings, outpost available. Maybe the time has come to build an outpost of corn. Howling Citadel. Let's build your outpost. Oh, it's 3k too? Alright, fine. Alright, and the Slaneshi. Alright, you know what? I guess we're gonna do that as well. Outpost at Stormwrack Mountain. Ooh, you have access to Exalted Demonettes. Well, we could give a few of those to Azazel. I don't see why not. We can get more Mortal Warriors together with Siggy. But the Demonettes here would be nice. You can build Seeker Chariots, but you can't build Hellflayers, unfortunately. Oh well. It's the issue with you not having any high-level stuff or any high-level territories. Aha, Prague. Throt, if you retake Prague, that would be just swell, and I hope you keep it so that we can then take it from you. But for now, we end the turn, and we keep going. And what do we have here? Ah, our ambush failed. A Pyrrhic victory. Looks like Miao Ying wants to play. Well, play we shall. We're, by and large, most likely going to have to ignore her in favor of destroying her army. Kuchar, your blood trials continue. He wandered into the Warpstone Desert, and, well, he will come out a true champion of Khorne. Go.
Not from where the blood flows. Fight well. Fight or die.
Alrighty, here we go. Looks like Kolek and Kuchar might be getting into a little bit of a contest with each other. Kolek has brought down Jao Ming, and now it's time for Kuchar to do the same to Miao Ying, if he's capable of such. As usual, he's going to start the battle with those skill cannons of his, annoying the enemy as best they can, and their target is going to be the regiment regiment of renowned celestial dragon crossbows, the Grace of Chui Yin. It's a very powerful unit, launching those magical arrows of theirs. I remember using it to quite decent effect in my Yuan Bo campaign. And does have a healthy respect for the unit and the extra range that it has as well, if I can find it again. Not the Bandits of the Silver Road, but the... Okay, where are they? Oh, they're over here. But the Grace of Chui Yin, 198 range magical and damage and 52 plus missile strength and plenty of armor piercing. At that, knock them out before they can rip our marauders and whatever else they fire at apart. They'll be threatening to everything in our army, including our doggos as well. Back here we have our units of marauder horsemen, not horse masters like in Archaon's army, at least not yet. And they'll be trying their best to lead these Jade Lancers forward, because in these woods we have 3 of our Flesh Hounds hidden, so if we can peel the enemy, cavalry away from the protection of their army, hopefully we can get the Flesh Hounds to chase them down and destroy them. And there we go, at least the javelins are working to some degree, knocking out the occasional Jade Lancer. Get another volley in there if you guys would. Oh wow, that guy... Damn, that guy... Alright, I feel like you probably shouldn't have been able to take that many javelins, dude. But anyway, we are successful in this particular gambit. Not only did the enemy run into our Flesh Hounds, but also their formation completely broke up, easily allowing the Flesh Hounds to attack among them, or intersperse themselves among them and chase them down, hopefully, as best they can. In the meantime, Kukar has deployed over on this side of the map for 2 reasons. 1, big old impassable terrain, and 2, big old forested area, which we can use to hide from the enemy range superiority. They do have a lot of range in this particular army after all, and we should take advantage of the fact that there's this forest to protect us. Now that said, I was hoping that while we managed to deploy here, the enemy army would actually try to attack us in this forest, but it seems like they don't really want to do that. They're kind of just hovering around. On the bright side, this does allow our skull cannon to plenty of damage. In fact, they're basically out of our ammunition at this point. But on the other hand, if they're not going to attack, we're going to have to attack them ourselves. Kukar is going to be the first in, as usual, at the very least, of his main army, and we're going to start eating arrows from the enemy as the rest of our army gets out of those woods and suddenly appears and hopes to chase down those enemy range units. Alright, though the Grace of Chui Yin is firing at us, gotta knock those guys out before they can do too much else, so they are down to about half HP, thanks to our skull cannons. Alright, magical arrows away, and 3 units, well, 2 units came. Now it's 3 units, and marauders are getting bogged down a little bit by a single unit. That's the risk you run when you use the attack move ability for the entire army. As if you don't micromanage your troops, they will just attack and blob up like the AI has a tendency. But not to worry, easily remedied as we peel away marauders from the main line and try to engage more of the enemy units. In the meantime, Miao Ying has transformed over in the background, but for now, we will be ignoring her. We've got other things to do and plenty of infantry, and more importantly, missile infantry, to be getting on with. Obviously, that's our target. The marauders, as best they can, will engage and rage and just distract the enemy melee troops, while our Flesh Hounds, our Skull Cannon, and whatever marauders manage to get through the enemy main line and destroy the back line as well. And back here, it looks like we've managed to destroy both of the units of Jade Lancers that chased after our Marauder Horsemen, and we've actually caught a Celestial General as well, who is now surrounded by same said units of Marauder Horsemen, and a single unit of Flesh Hounds to help them out as well. And we'll apply a little bit of that bleed and help out. And it does seem to be working. On the other hand, the rest of our hounds, specifically the Hounds of the Blood Hunt, but all of the rest, have peeled away and found yet another unit of Jade Lancers to go after. This one's being distracted very well by Kuchar here. They can surround him, but that's probably what he wants, so he'll just end up being fodder for his axes. And there we go. Is that a break? Yes, indeed it is. The unit is broken and running, and the balance of power sits at about 65, maybe 70% in our favor. Over in the background, Miao Ying is still fighting. We've also got enemy Alchemist dropping spells on us, those Searing Dooms, but that summoning sword has finally come into use. I think it was a 2-minute cooldown at least since the battle started. But now that the cooldown is done, we've got our Chaos Spawn summoned, and the Chaos Spawn will distract Miao Ying and prevent her from joining the fray. Elsewhere, speaking of the fray, elsewhere it looks like most of the enemy units have been corralled into one essentially separated little area, but now we are attacking them from pretty much every side, and it's only a matter of time till all of those Jade crossbows and I want to say, yeah, at least a few peasant crossbows are completely destroyed. Alright, well, look at this little army all working together in cohesiveness and such. Isn't it nice? Can't wait for it to just be lots more units than just more piles of marauders and uncoordinated ones. Add to that, Miao Ying continues to fight the Chaos Spawn, but it looks like with her army now shattered, she's going to start losing morale and will shatter herself rather than continue it. Ooh. And a bit of lag there for a sec, or a few dropped frames. Maybe my PC didn't like the fact that the enemy had to get back on the ground or lose. And now we simply chase Miao Ying down rather than having bothered to fight her, though she did drop below to about half HP, thanks to the advent of those summonable Chaos Spawn. Anyway, we're going to try to take out every single thing that we possibly can in this particular battle, as we don't want the enemy to revive and then force us to auto-resolve and damage ourselves yet again. But a pretty nice battle all told, and Miao Ying will finally join her brother in death. Temporary death, but death nonetheless, though I think hers might be a little less temporary. Or a little more temporary, rather, than Jao Ming's, because he still has plenty of settlements, and Miao only had 2. Anyway, plenty of units to be chasing down here to make sure that we don't have to fight him again, but we can do the rest of that off-screen. Man, I gotta say, I was really not expecting to face off against both of the dragon siblings, or 2 out of the 3. Well, okay, there's a lot more, but the 3 that are available and the 2 that are on this portion of the map of the dragon siblings in this particular episode has been a very pleasant surprise and some glorious battles and knocking them both down, and fairly lucrative as well. Get another 8.4k for our trouble here. Once again, this damn skull cannon is doing so much work, and I think at this point it's done so much work that I'm not going to take it out of this army. I'm attached to it now, and it's gonna need a name, folks, so suggest one up if you got it. Probably gonna put a second one in this army, in fact, because once again, it's been doing quite well. The doggo's doing quite well as well. Corn Dogs and Bloody Fangs of Corn, both getting 16 to 17k and 21k on Karanak's puppies. Kuchar's good boys were unfortunately busy off on the other side of the map and thus did not get to kill as many things, but hey, that'll change, I'm sure. And our 3 other named units, Corn's Chosen, Cornflakes, and the Blood Angels, all did much more in the way of kills and damage than the rest of the regular Marauders, though they'll all be Cornate soon enough. Alright, let's see if anybody else is going to be willing to attack us this time around, though I don't think anybody else is near with a full stack that I'm aware of. villages running around there still fighting Zatan. And he wants military access, but no. Bellicor. We also know we need to destroy you and force you to be our vassal. Though now that I think about it, we may have to... Ooh, construction cost -15 for all buildings, all regions faction-wide. Well, I'm glad I didn't spend more money on stuff, because yes, blood and toil, please. Faction-wide. Okay, we're gonna have to make good use of it. It's not materials at sea, but it's like half of them are materials at sea, so... And that's pretty darn good. If only we could get materials at sea at the same time as well. Anyway, very cold, still aloof, pretty good defeat trait out of Miao Ying as well. The enemy range reduction for a Khorne army is quite nice, and the melee defense for a Khorne army is shoring up one of its weaknesses, so I won't say no to that. Deathmaster Snitch is nearby as well. Oh man. I gotta say, that's tempting. We could attack him, destroy 2 of his armies, though I'm sure he has more out here. But it is very tempting. Well, assuming that we actually win the battles. It would be a sudden attack on him, and then we could start taking his territory to the point that, or until the point that he's willing to be vassalized. This would mean skipping out on village for a little while longer. Hopefully he doesn't actually kill off Zatan, as that would be unfortunate as well. But this is a pretty good opportunity, or at least it looks like one, and to me. However, I'm willing to be convinced otherwise. We wouldn't have time to fight either of these battles this episode anyway, so if you guys have any thoughts on the matter, attack Snitch or don't, do let me know. Ooh, he has Poison Wind Mortars as well, and he's level 16. Nonetheless, I'm sure Kuhar is up to the challenge. He's still going through his trials, after all. Now, oh, you just can't reach Shangwu. That's unfortunate. You can reach Shenwu. But then this will allow this guy to build up stuff, and oh, it's actually fairly well defended already. In fact, I think if we besiege it, there's a decent likelihood that... okay, fine. We're gonna go right here, I guess. Wait. I'm gonna go right to the edge of our own territory to make sure that we heal up. Although I am curious, how much would we get out of raiding this turn? Not so bad. And we still heal up a bit. I think we'll take it. We'll take it, and we'll see if we can get the enemy to sally out before Jao Ming comes back and makes that army all that much stronger. Let's see. Archaon, you still need levels and you still need to travel out. Just to double check. Yeah, 3 turns out. We'll loop back around when we come back for pig barter. So Archaon, you're going this way for now. Wait, are you still at 4 territories? Damn, yeah, no, he still owns this one up here, doesn't he? And it's likely to be a dark fortress. Alright, I guess we may have to go up here, take out this territory, Darkhold, and loop down through Bitter Bay and Ruin's End, and end up at Pig Barter, because we know that this is a tower, and thus we want this to be the last thing we take. What we need to be careful about, though, is Kugath taking it. But I don't think he will, or at least I would hope that he can't. We shall see. Anyway, Azazel... Oh, what are you doing? Ooh, Scarissa has a full stack nearby. Well, that is potentially something for our Sibyllin Slaughtercade to do. Please sink this Black Ark. That damn Black Ark... Oh, don't go around the... Don't you dare... Okay, good. I thought he was gonna go around all this way, and I was about to get extremely annoyed at him. Alright, just that... Really? 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 Alright, well, this is a stupid waste of time. I'm going to do this off screen. I'm going to call the episode here, so we will begin the invasion of the Northern Chaos Wastes. Next time, you guys let me know what you think about attacking Deathmaster Snitch right now versus saving it for later. I suppose a Trial of Khorne should involve a lot of necessary or unnecessary bloodshed, depending on how you look at it. And then Archaon will hopefully reach Draj's territories and be able to vassalize him over the next turn, and then thereafter turn towards killing Imric and Clan Rictus and whatever else he can find in the Darklands. Lots of variety, and the variety will continue both unit-wise and enemy-wise. Stay tuned for more Archaon. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below, especially to Threshold. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.